It is Monday, May 23rd, 2022. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by our good friends at Shady Rays, the best shades in the entire business. Not only do they look great on you, but if you lose them and break them, two things I am destined to do, they will replace them. It is that simple for you. It is great to have with us, once again, our regular contributor, Trevor Plouffe, is gone for the next 2 weeks on a ridiculous family vacation. I mean, ridiculous in the best way possible. So filling in for him the entire week, the man from Australia himself, the one and only Pete Moylan. Hello, Pete.
Hello, Rosie. Thanks for having me, buddy. I can't believe that I'm having to step in and fill the big shoes left by Trevor Plouffe on his magical mystery tour, wherever he's going.
Yes. So just if you want to act like, I don't suggest acting like Plouffe, be exactly who you are. It's why we loved you during your outstanding major league career. But if you want to throw a few, man, am I sexy? Or dude, I was great.
I'm good.
I took Corey Kluber deep 3 times in the show.
Yeah.
I have the most homers ever off of a position player. Like if you want to drop that in occasionally this week, feel free to.
I am definitely not shy in letting everyone know that I had a big league career. So if there's at any point I can slide my stats in, consider it done.
Okay. Well, Adley Rutschman officially has a major league career. He got called up on Friday night, which was really cool. If you haven't seen that on social media, check it out, where he gets called into the manager's office. All his teammates just pile in. It's glorious. And then the cameras caught him as he took the field for the first time as a major leaguer behind the plate in Baltimore. Here he is with his mask off, doing a full 360, and just for like 8 seconds looking around and saying, holy shit, I made it. How much did you enjoy just that little snippet of video?
It was awesome. It was a complete contrast to my debut, obviously. My name had never been mentioned in Baseball America prior to me stepping foot on a big league field, whereas he's been the number one pick and the number one prospect for a while. But for me, I didn't even want to lift my eyes above the peak of my cap to even know that there was a second deck while I was pitching. That's how frightened and scared of the moment that I was. But obviously, different situation. He's going to be in there for 9 innings. He's wanted to take it all in before he steps foot behind the dish. I think for him to even do that is such a cool thing and such a cool moment, and to be grounded enough to even think to do that, because most guys would just be shitting themselves and just think, okay, don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up. He's, you know what, I'm here for a while, take this in. This is my first time, first of many, probably, he's thinking. And the way he went, I thought it was absolutely awesome. And to hit a triple in your first hit, nice job.
Yeah, he's the first Baltimore Oriole to have a triple in his major league debut since Manny Machado.
No way.
If you follow in those footsteps, it's not bad. But I loved it because as you get older, right, you want to appreciate the moments. The discussion I always had about Derek Jeter was, as legendary a player as he was, the fact that he won 5 rings, that he got 3,000 hits, all that sort of stuff. I always wondered, did he enjoy the journey enough? Yeah. You know, and I think that toward the end of his career, he probably said, I grinded so hard. I was so singularly focused. I'm not so sure I did. For Adley Rutschman to have the wherewithal in it, the first time he steps foot on a field as a major leaguer, to take a second and to do that spin and soak it in, I think it says a lot of who he is.
It says a lot about what Baltimore's told him too. If, you know, he's obviously been told, look, you're here for a while. You're here for the long haul. Relax, ease your way into it. A lot of guys, when they first come up, it's not that way. You know, you're either called up because of injury or you're trying to fill a spot. You're just trying to hold on as long as you can, and you don't want to do anything different. Whereas for him, I feel like he knows he's going to be here. He knows he's been destined for this. Obviously, he's still got to perform and he's still got to earn his spot and keep his spot, but it's a little different than most guys that get called up for the first time.
Yeah, and who knows how it's going to go the rest of this season. I mean, listen, I hope he stays, but, you know, right around this time a year ago, Jared Kelenic got called up by the Seattle Mariners, right? Same sort of swagger. Now, he wasn't drafted by the Mariners, but he was the centerpiece of that big deal between the Mets and the Mariners. And all we ever heard about him was he has got the makeup. And what has happened to him twice since then? He's been sent down. Now, I am not rooting for that. I want this kid to be the stalwart of Baltimore's turnaround and renaissance, because that is a great baseball town when they pack that stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to go, but he certainly has the feel of it.
He looks like a big leaguer, that's for sure. And we've had the same thing, but with Julio Rodriguez in Seattle, he has struggled early on, but then he found it. So that's the key with all these young guys that are coming up. You don't want to overexpose them too early, but the timing has to be right. But at the same time, you've seen kids come up at 20, 21 and dominate. So you've almost got to give him a chance to see what happens before you can decide what happens next. But I'm with you, man. He's going to be here for a while.
Perhaps one thing that will help him is that he's a little bit older. He's not 21. He's 24, right? He's a full college kid. And now he's been the number one prospect, it feels like, for a while. And so now it feels like he's ready. Plus, there isn't the pressure to perform, unlike a Seattle, which, was trying to build off of a 90-win season a year ago. Baltimore knows they're still going to be taking their lumps in this division.
But they're playing good baseball.
They are playing good baseball.
That's the thing that's kind of frustrating for me as an old school guy, is that I'm like, oh, no, get the free agents, bring the older guys in. I want to do all this. But when you look at the Orioles and what they're doing right now with what they've got on their roster, how can you argue against a rebuild?
Right. Can't. They have 3 of their last 4 games, though, have been won in the walk-off variety, which is great and good for them.
And you're wearing their hat, which tells me everything.
Yes. Well, I have to. I don't bust out the Baltimore hat very often, but the guy who keeps track of the lids that I wear here on Baseball Today, can put another one in the Orioles ledger. So there you go. This is a really fun show, Baseball Today. We really enjoy ourselves. There are times we have to put our big boy pants on, and that kind of happened over the weekend, Saturday in New York. We all know the story between Josh Donaldson and Tim Anderson. We do want to hear from both parties involved before we make our comments.
Baseball is, trying to call me Jackie Robinson. Like, what's up, Jackie? I don't play like that, and I don't really play at all. I wasn't really, bothering nobody today, but, he made a comment and, it was disrespectful.
First inning, I called him Jackie. 2019, he came out with an interview, said that he's the new Jackie Robinson of baseball. He's going to bring back fun for the game, right? And 2019, when I played for Atlanta, we actually joked about that. I don't know what's changed and I've said it to him in years past, not in any manner than just joking around for the fact that he called himself Jackie Robinson.
Your thoughts, Pete?
This is so hard because I don't know what the intention was. I don't know what was in Josh Donaldson's head. I don't know. On the surface, it looks horrible, obviously. But the main factor is that the way that it was received by Tim Anderson, if he thinks it's disrespectful and if there's any undertones of racism or whatever it is, if that's received that way, then that's a problem. And I think that, there's going to be Twitter experts. Everybody's going to have their opinion. I think MLB is going to investigate it. So, we're going to find out exactly what happened and why it happened. And eventually it's going to all come out. But as of right now, it looks really terrible on the surface.
So it's one of those uncomfortable things, right? Because whatever we say, there's a certain group of people that are going to be like, oh, you're taking this too far, or no, this is a real big problem.
Right.
I will only say this. The most important thing you said is it's hard for people to judge intent. I can't judge intent when somebody, a pitcher, I think, throws at a hitter. I don't know if it was because he really doesn't like him, didn't like something he did, or the ball slipped. So judging intent in the baseball world is difficult. When it gets to something like this, it's really, really challenging. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's in his heart. I don't know their relationship. It sure doesn't sound like a good one. It certainly doesn't sound like a joking manner. All I can tell you is this. A lot of the Twitter experts said, hey, Tim Anderson called himself Jackie Robinson. Yes, that's exactly what the headline read. Go back and read the story, the complete story as to the reverence he has for Jackie Robinson. And people were saying, well, what if he had compared himself to Mickey Mantle and Josh Donaldson and called him the Mick? Or he called himself the next Mike Trout and people called him Mike Trout. Would he have been pissed about that? This is different. When you bring up the name, when you bring up the name Jackie Robinson, what is the first thing you think of?
Color barrier.
Race relations. It's the number one thing you think about. So you can't use the rest of any other name in baseball. That does not fly with me. I don't know where we go from here. I think the most important thing I heard out of Josh Donaldson's mouth was that if Tim Anderson wants to talk about it, that's the important thing. Where we have been as a country in the last 2 years, there's been a lot of people talking and not a lot of people listening. And I think why is it my job to decide how Tim Anderson should feel about something?
It's not.
And by the way, Tim Anderson and another African-American person who grew up in this country might see this in two totally different ways as well.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. So we have to hear, we have to discuss, and we have to listen.
And it's between those two individuals now. Like, I know that there's going to be, MLB is going to want to take a look at it, but it's between those two guys. And as you said, everyone's going to have their opinion, but doesn't mean it's right or wrong. And it doesn't mean everybody has to have an opinion. It's just between two parties. It's obviously in the world scope because everybody's seen it and it's all over the news. But at the same time, it's between those two guys. They have to nut it out. They have to sort it out. They have to figure out the intent and they have to work it out. I mean, I can't say anything more because I wasn't involved. I wasn't there. I've read all the comments, but again, that's just getting yourself in trouble because you're either reading one side or the other. But you got to have the two main parties involved be the ones that are talking about it. I
will finish it up with this. And I'm not going to blame Yankee fans because I think this would have happened at any fan base. I thought it was terrible that they booed Tim Anderson last night.
That's bullshit.
Okay? You don't have to like Tim Anderson for the tag, all that sort of stuff that happened. You don't have to like him as a player. That's fine. If you were booing him last night because you felt like he got your player in trouble, that's fucking wrong.
Yep.
And if that's the reason you booed, then I don't have any. I just would have said nothing. Like, if you're a Yankee fan that doesn't like Tim Anderson, I wouldn't have said anything last night.
Yeah.
Like, silence is sometimes the best.
That's exactly why he did this when he hit the 3-run homer, dude.
Yep. So we'll see. I mean, my guess is we might be talking about it again if and when the league decides if there's a punishment or not a punishment. Hey, Baseball Today is presented to you by these guys, Shady Rays, which is changing the way you wear your sunglasses in the outdoors. They offer the best combination of fit, style, and performance without the big brand price tag. And here's one of the coolest things about them. Every pair is backed by lost and broken replacements. What does that mean? If you lose or you break a pair, even on day one of owning them, they are going to send you a brand new pair. So if you're like me and you put your sunglasses down and you don't know where they are like 4 or 5 times a year, or if you're stupid enough to put them on the chair of your car and you sit down on it and you break this part, don't worry about it. They got it all taken care of. And here's the other great thing about Shady Rays. They are going to help build America. How do they do that? They provide 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order. And so far, they've donated over 20 million meals to date. So when you purchase something, you want to feel good about the way you look. You want that swagger. Well, on top of that, they are helping to rebuild this amazing country that we live in. It is so cool. And by the way, if you don't love these things, exchange them for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. It's that simple. So what I want you to do, go to shadyrays.com, use the code today for 50% off 2+ pairs of premium polarized shades. That's shadyrays.com. Use the code word today for 50% off 2+ pairs of premium polarized shades. Go do it now. You'll even look better than the Rose Man. Padres swept the series out in San Francisco. They have won 6 of their last 7. In the meantime, cross country, the Dodgers blew a 1-run extra inning lead when with 2 outs, Max Muncy butchered a ground ball, allowing 2 runs to score. Phillies come back and win that one. So if you look at the standings in the NL West, Dodgers lead the Padres by a half game. Petey.
Yes.
What are the odds that the Padres turn into this year's San Francisco Giants and can actually hold off the Dodgers in that division?
I'm not convinced that San Fran's not this year's San Fran, by the way. They're still pretty good. There's still a lot of season left. But I did get to witness San Diego firsthand a couple of weeks ago. That team is legit. That team was legit for 2/3 of the season last year, and I don't know what happened over there, but things fell apart. I think they've got the momentum that they had in the first half last year built up this year, and they're playing together. They're playing like a team that enjoys playing with each other, which is something that I didn't see at the end of the last year. And they've, look, I hate to say mojo, but look, Eric Hosmer and Manny Machado is the best player in baseball right now, which helps. But Eric Hosmer has gone back to Kansas City, Eric Hosmer. And I don't know what changed with him, whether he tried to do the launch angle swing and it just wasn't for him, and he's just made the adjustment and gone back to the way that he was. But that lineup's scary, Rosie. And they've got Clevenger, they've got Darvish, they've got pitching at the wazoo. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. They're a beast. And they've got better.
Yep.
I think it's going to be an unbelievable West. I think the Dodgers are going to win it. But there's going to be 3 teams probably out of that division that can make the playoffs.
You think it's going to be close, or do you think they'll end up winning it by 5 to 7 games.
I think it's going to be close just because we don't have the balanced schedule just yet. So they play so many games against each other that it's just going to eventually, unless some team all of a sudden just has their number and runs the table with them and decides to win 7 or 8 in a row in the division, then that's going to obviously change everything. But I think it's going to be a close battle the whole year. I hate to predict it, but I think the Dodgers will win it. And I think all 3 teams are going to make playoffs.
Wow, all 3. I only had 2, but I had the Padres as the second team. I don't think I picked the Giants again for the second straight year. I think I should have learned my lesson.
That's my point. I looked at that squad and I'm like 108 wins last year. How? But they're going to do it. They find a way. Kapler in that front office, they find a way.
They do. With the Padres, Clevenger actually just went back on the injured list. I don't think they believe it's going to be serious, but the depth of that pitching staff allowed them to trot out Mackenzie Gore, who was fantastic on Sunday. And
I'm so happy about that.
Yeah, he has been great since he came up. Really, really good. If you look at the Dodgers' offensive stats, a lot of people are like, man, the Dodgers haven't started hitting. They actually are one of the best hitting teams in baseball. Their OPS is almost 100 points higher than San Diego. It's basically been the Machado show. Hosmer hit great the first month and has struggled here in the month of May. And they're just kind of treading water until maybe they get Tatis back in a month. Like, we'll see. That has been a very, very silent news cycle with Fernando Tatis Jr.
Zero news. No updates. No, he's swinging off a tee. He's taken live nothing.
Right. The only time I saw him, he was juggling a soccer ball at Petco Park. That was it.
Right.
Which I wouldn't have done when you're coming off of wrist surgery.
It's better than riding a motorcycle.
It is. You know what? Let's see if he can ride a motorcycle while juggling a soccer ball. Challenge. You know, I hear he's such a great athlete. Let's see if he can pull that one off there, Tatis. But yeah, I can't wait to see when Tatis gets back, how this will play out. I mean, let's remember he missed 30 games last year, and he still led the National League in homers.
Right. And you talk about their starting rotation. You've got Darvish, Minaya, Musgrove, Mackenzie Gore, Nick Martinez, Blake Snell, and Clevenger to come back. So it's not like they lose Clevenger and they got nothing left.
Right. No, they have tremendous starting rotation depth. I would say the most. And it's interesting because the Dodgers, I looked at them at the start of the year and said, boy, their starting rotation might be their weak point for the first time in this whole run. Like, they've got Buehler, they've got Urias, Dustin May's not coming back.
Right.
They banking on Andrew Heaney, like Kershaw. We don't know if he's healthy, all that sort of stuff. They're number 1 in ERA. They've also allowed the fewest walks in the National League. So that'll help you out. But I think it finishes Dodgers. I would like to see the Padres finish within 4 or 5 games because I want to see it be interesting, particularly this year with the way the playoff system is set up. But
the Dodgers only have 4 starters listed.
Yeah, that's basically where they are because they've been rotating those kids that they've called up in that 5th spot. That's kind of what they do.
Jimmy Nelson's on the IL. Blake Treinen's on the IL. Danny Duffy's on the IL.
Yeah.
And they're still in first place.
Right.
That's scary.
I mean, and at some point they're going to get Dustin May back later in the year. Who knows what sort of role he'll give them, but it's been fantastic. I will say this. Freddie Freeman's been worth every damn penny they paid him.
Every cent.
And Mookie Betts is back.
He's coming. Hit his 10th last night, right?
He is back. And I love Mookie Betts. I'm such a huge fan. All right, cooler moment on Sunday. Was it watching 9-time Gold Glove catcher Yadi Molina toe the slab for the first time ever, or watching Joey Votto go deep in a ballpark he grew up 10 minutes from in Toronto?
I love Yadi Molina. One of my greatest losses was not being able to throw a game or throw a pitch to Yadi Molina. I've watched him for years and years and years, and I think he's the best catcher that I've seen. But I was unimpressed with the mound visit. I thought he would have at least tried to. I've seen him throw cannons from behind the dish to second base, and he was up there absolutely throwing. I wanted to see at least an 85, an 86, an 87, something to give me some hope that, I mean, he did throw a couple of breaking balls. I'll give him that. But yeah, I was unimpressed. But Joey Votto in Canada.
By the way, you don't think that Marmol came to him and was like, listen, I will let you pitch.
Sure.
But if you try to air it out, I'm going to come get your ass off that time. And you are way too important for us.
Right. But at least he throws the ball back to the pitcher he does it 120, 130 times a game. It's not like one little extra throw at 100% is going to put him on the IL, he would have been warmed up complete. Although it did look like he wasn't putting a lot of it. First, I thought he was wearing tennis shoes, but he had these spikes on, which was good. But he wasn't taking a big stride. It wasn't like his foot was going to slip out from under him. He was just rocking back and throwing the softest BP you've ever seen.
Yeah.
But in a win, that's two games that I've seen position players pitch in a win, which is unheard of. It's the first time I think I've seen it.
Well, I think it's smart, to be honest with you. When you have that enormous a lead, why get a guy up? I mean, we're seeing guys just fall apart left and right.
Yeah.
Keep saving that bullpen. I think it's smart. You know,
I do too. I do too. Until that one time when the team scores 14 runs and they come back and win.
Well, I'm dying to see that. I got to tell you, as a sports fan, I am dying to see like a manager sweat and have to get a guy up. But I think it's really cool that in the same week, basically, we could see Pujols, Wainwright, and Yadi all pitch for the St. Louis Cardinals. If I had told you that at the beginning of the year, you would have been like, excuse me?
Or in 2005. Right?
It's just so cool.
Joey going deep at his home city, though. That was the emotion that he had going back to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It was real. It was awesome. Say what we want about Joey and his antics, and he hit 7 home runs in a row. But I love the character that he is, and I love the fact that he loves his country. And to be able to do this at home in front of a home fan where he grew up, he said 11 kilometers away from the Rogers Center. That's got to be a hell of a moment for him, especially at the end of his career like this too.
So it's not the first homer he's hit in Toronto. He's hit 3 of them before this. And but for him to do it, particularly in a time where it's been a very, very trying 7 weeks for him.
Potential final at bat in Toronto. Is that what I read?
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
There's nothing better. I have loved. So when I started Intentional Talk with Millar, the word was Joey Votto is a weirdo.
Right.
Like, he's weird, dude. And then when you get to know him, you're like, he ain't weird. He's playing a different game than the rest of us are.
Right.
And I love every bit of it. It's been one of my favorite interviews we've had on the Rose rotation with him. He's such a deep thinker. I think earlier in the show, what did we talk about? Appreciating big moments like Adley Rutschman. Joey Votto has enjoyed every bit of this run the last several years.
Yeah. I've never met him. I've never spoken a word to him. I know Joey Votto from what everybody else has seen, TV interviews, and I think he's great. I think he's awesome, and I'm with it. He does think on another level, and that's why you noticed that 6 years ago when he started to be the guy that would get on base. Like he changed the way that he would hit in order to adjust to the way the game is being played at the time. And if you can do that and still be a superstar, that you're doing something right.
Yep, I love it. I love it. And I like that the Reds are playing a little bit better. It's good because, man, that fan base doesn't deserve it. All those fans that are like, well, this is going to make the Castellini sell. No, it's not. No. And you don't want them to be right. Like, you don't want the Castellini's thought process to be right. But, man, you can't imagine going 3-22 over your first 25 games or whatever.
I am encouraged to see the improvements Hunter Green's made. I saw him pitch in Baltimore. Sorry, I saw him pitch in Milwaukee a couple of weeks ago, and I thought he might be done, but he's come back. The last two outings have been really, really good. So I'm happy for that too.
Absolutely. Good for that kid.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know where we sit on this, so I want to throw it out there. There was a video on social media in Philly. This 10-year-old kid had been waiting to play catch all day or get a ball from Cody Bellinger, and Bellinger fires one. You can see it's probably 50 feet away and up. And so it comes with a little heat and it goes off the top of the kid's mitt, and an adult picks up the ball, doesn't look the kid's way. I mean, it was obviously intended for this kid. So do we say, hey, dude, what are you doing? Why are you being an asshole? Or do we say, hey, kid, go work on your catching game?
No. Hey, dude, why are you being an asshole? You're a 40-year-old grown man, and these kids clearly try to make a play. You reach out with one hand, pick it up, give it to the kid, green shirt guy. It's not that hard. You can afford to go and buy a freaking baseball from the gift shop. This kid's probably come to see his favorite team for the first time, might get a baseball, go home with the reward, pumped, and you've just stolen it from him. You're an asshole. Simple.
So I try and remove myself a little bit from being too close from this. You know, I've had the good fortune of covering Major League Baseball for 3 decades. So when you see a baseball, automatically, when my kids see a baseball, if they get tossed one in batting practice or whatever, when we're down on the field, they turn around, they give it away to another kid. They don't ever keep the baseballs. Right. They do what what Liam Castellanos did.
Yeah.
He gives it to somebody because they've had the good fortune of being around this game.
Sure.
But I wonder if, as a grown adult who maybe has loved the sport since I was a kid and never got my hands on a baseball, would I keep it? I would hope no.
He looked like he was wearing a nice pair of Vans. He looks like he can afford to spend $15 on a baseball and not ruin kids' dreams.
It's different than when Cody Bellinger's throwing it. This ball was thrown by Cody Bellinger,
Fantastic.
a former NL MVP.
And you know what Cody Bellinger should have done? He should have walked over there, because I used to do this all the time. I would throw a baseball to a kid. If he didn't get it and an adult got it, I would walk over there and make sure that adult gave it to the kid that I was intending to throwing it to.
Putting a lot of pressure on Cody Bellinger. He might not have been able to see. Also, we've seen Cody Bellinger on the bench. I mean, he barely has his eyes open sometimes.
This isn't on Cody Bellinger. This is on green shirt van wearing guy who stole a baseball and a kid's dreams at the same time. That's it.
I'm with you 1,000%. I'm just trying to look at it from a different angle, and I cannot defend that guy at all. Nope. In fact, if I were in the Philly media market today,
find the kid.
I would have it out for green shirt dude. I would be like, listen, I wouldn't want everybody flooding his social media. I don't want people treating him that way, but I would be like, I would try to find him, try to bring him on a radio show or something and just say, hey, what were you thinking? Hey, if we gave you the chance to do it right, would you like to hand us the ball and we can get it to that kid somehow? Like, let's not make him out to be some sort of felon, but let's try and maybe
give him the benefit of the doubt.
No, not give him the benefit of the doubt, but let's try and make this so that it's a good ending.
I'm even trying to see if there's other kids behind there that he might be giving to another kid behind, but there's nothing but adults behind him.
No, there's only adults. There's a guy in a blue shirt there who probably is still sitting in that seat. I don't even see him moving. There's some woman who is super excited because, look, my dude is about to get a baseball.
And crush a kid's dreams.
Yeah, I can't defend you, dude. All right. What do you have coming up on John Boy Media, Pete?
Boy, I'm going to be doing this every single day.
Yes.
We know Kelsey got struck the other day.
Yes. How's she feeling?
She's feeling good. We're taking a week off Farm to Fame this week. But then we'll be back at it next week. And I think I'm doing baseball, talking baseball on Friday as well. So there's a lot going on. Man.
That's a lot. You're a busy man.
I am, but I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Plus your daily Braves duty.
Plus, I'm working every day till June 14th with the Braves too.
Are you calling games?
I'm calling games in Arizona and Colorado. That was probably the best time I've had at a baseball field for a long time.
That's all.
Just being up in the booth and first couple of games, I was just trying to find myself, obviously.
Right.
But after that, I felt comfortable, and then I heard myself on MLB Network later that night, which was a little frightening. As a player, and I probably shouldn't say this, but as a player, early on, I used to go home and watch the highlights just to hope that I might have done something cool enough to catch a highlight. Now I go home after a game and I watch MLB Network and I hear myself. It's like full circle moment. It's absolutely insane for me, but I'm so appreciative.
That's great. I'm not familiar with the network with which you're speaking.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it sounds great. I'm sure they have outstanding programming. Anyway, latest Rose rotation with Miguel Rojas and his double play partner Jazz Chisholm is out.
Wow.
They're both fantastic. They're a ton of fun. So much energy. Go listen to it. It's great.
That's cool.
And as we were just speaking, I just got a confirmation from Austin Hedges that he will be joining.
He's hilarious, huh?
He is funny. He's very funny. And it's great that we have a catcher in the Rose rotation. We're going to record that tomorrow. And because he's involved in so much.
Yeah.
In so much. So it's good.
You know, the game doesn't start without pitcher though, right? Like the game literally cannot start unless we decide to throw the baseball. So,
well, actually it cannot start until he punches in PitchCom.
Well, that's if you use. Okay. You win.
Thanks very much to our outstanding producer, the one and only Robbie Scirocco. For Pete Moylan, I'm Chris Rose. We will see you Tuesday on Baseball Today, presented to you by Shady Rays.